we're working on it. I think you noticed the signing today from G2. I believe that's his brother. And I would imagine that we are close, if not at that point where the GaLaxy will make an announcement in the next day or two, or when this becomes official. It's not official until the GaLaxy make it official. And so that's where we stand on that. Thanks again for your question, Roman. Zoidberg, how did you get your position with the GaLaxy organization? Well, I was basically a big pain in the butt some 26 years ago, calling the GaLaxy on a regular basis as I was working at my station. At that time was called Extra Sports 690, and I was also doing play-by-play of indoor soccer for the Anaheim Splash before MLS got underway. And as MLS was announced, the GaLaxy were announced. I found out who the owners were, and I was able to reach out to Danny Villanueva, who was one of the owners. And I kept on bothering him until he decided that even though at that point they didn't have a GaLaxy English broadcast, he asked me if I'd be willing to do the public address for the very first game, and I did. And from there, I kept the relationship, and we got underway with GaLaxy Talk in 1997 and 1998. As in 1999, then English TV and radio was a regular for the GaLaxy, and I was part of that as well, and have been part of that ever since. So that's how that went. That's the Reader's Digest version of that journey. From Cricket King, how important do you think it is for the GaLaxy to have a connection between Cal State University Dominguez Hills? I think it's a great relationship to have. I think in terms of the LA GaLaxy and Cal State Dominguez Hills, it's been important from the start. I think it's been mutually successful, not only for Dignity Health Sports Park, but also the entire center there, the velodrome, the track and field center, the tennis stadium, everything that goes on there at Dignity Health Sports Park is a big deal. I mean, you think about it, it's not just one facility, it's a bunch of facilities. And I think it'll probably play a role in the upcoming Olympics that'll be coming to Los Angeles. And there's possibly some type of role in the upcoming World Cup that's coming to the United States. And whether it will be a practice facility for teams or maybe it finds its way into some games, we'll find out soon enough. But I think it's a very important relationship. I think it's been mutually successful, and hopefully it continues. Foot GaLaxy, how do you become a soccer commentator? Well, I mean, in my case, I played growing up, and unfortunately, I wasn't good enough to go any further than past high school. I got injured in high school, and in my case, coaches stopped calling. I was a big kid, so I could not overcome that anymore, and I went into journalism. I thought I was going to be a sports writer, and from there, I went to broadcasting school because I didn't like the path to journalism for me. And you may have heard the school. It was Columbia School of Broadcasting. It was housed out of Hollywood at the time, and it had satellite campuses all over the United States, including my hometown. And I went that direction. And from there, I got an opportunity in a local radio station. At that time, it was a news station. And I learned everything from the inside out in terms of all the fundamentals of what it comes to building programming on the air, from running shows and so forth, and writing scripts, and finally getting my opportunity to be on the air. And in terms of being a soccer announcer, I was interning for a team in San Diego, and part of my internship allowed me to announce games into a tape deck. And I did that for a number of years before I had an opportunity. What you would probably do is go to a community college. I think that's a good thing, good place to start. I would get involved with the community station, the community college station in some way, in terms of broadcasting, in terms of new media, and I would get hands-on as much as possible, because broadcasting is all about repetition, and it has nothing necessarily to do with print or textbook. You need to do it to get better. You need to work on your voice. You need to work on a lot of different things, and you need to make mistakes because you're going to learn from those mistakes. And that's how you progress and get forward and get opportunities along the way. And you have to be diligent. Otherwise, this business will kick you out in a hurry. I hope I answered your question, Foot Galaxy. Chris M., the GaLAxy guy. Good to see you active on here. Nate. Hey, good to see you, Nate. From Heaven on Avalon, I just want you to know that we love you and we appreciate everything you bring to the game. Well, thank you very much. I love you guys as well. And you guys are my extended family, just like the GaLAxy is my family. And so it means a lot to me. Thank you. Floppy, how you doing? Thank you. Foot Galaxy. Hello again as I continue to scroll down. Let's see here. From 1130, Justin. Any advice for me because I want to become a great commentator? Well, you should aim higher. Not like me. Aim higher and possibly work for the GaLAxy or other clubs in the future. I'm graduating this year and going to attend Dominguez Hills in the fall. Any specific classes I should take or just advice in general on how I can find an opportunity for professional sports broadcasting? Now, like I said earlier, I would say that I would try to find the communications department, anything they have with sports journalism in terms of new media, in terms of broadcasting, in terms of social, because that's what it's going to require, in terms of television and radio together, and it's probably not even called radio anymore. So I would concentrate on that, but most importantly, I would get involved in terms of being able to broadcast the games at Cal State Dominguez Hills. All sports, all the sports that they broadcast, get involved because what you need is the understanding of the trade. And while soccer might be your love, like soccer was my love, I was involved in the NFL, college football, Major League Baseball, you name it, hockey. I was involved in everything with the radio station that I worked for, that I ended up running, and that's what makes you a good broadcaster. And hopefully time makes you a great broadcaster because time dictates how good you are. So hopefully that'll help you out and you can make some good decisions from there. Does the GaLAxy look like a cup-winning team to you? Well, if the season ended today, the GaLAxy would be hoisting the cup, right? Top points in the league at the moment, and so they would be hoisting the cup. I think right now it's just a work in progress. I think if we go back to the 2009 team, we didn't think that team would get to the MLS Cup. We were hoping to get to the playoffs at the time, and they ended up getting to the MLS Cup and unfortunately fell in penalties. The 2012 team had a slumber coming out of that 2011 championship, and they struggled throughout. And there were people that didn't think the GaLAxy would get past Vancouver in that play-in game. They ended up winning the cup for the second straight year. And it's a matter of getting things together. I think this particular year for the GaLAxy is unique because the team is still building as they're playing games. And not just one or two players. A lot of players are coming in. A lot of players have already come in. And therefore, I think it's going to be a late surge from this GaLAxy team. And hopefully it's the proper surge that we all want. And yeah, I believe they have an opportunity just like the other teams do to win the title this year. How does the GaLAxy look to you compared to the previous years since 2014? Well, I've said this before. I said it on an interview earlier today. I think Victor Vasquez is a huge addition to this GaLAxy team. They haven't had a player like this who can link things up going forward in quite some time. So I would probably go back to that 2014 team. And even though Victor is not a goal-scoring player like Robbie Keane, he almost has that same type of touch in getting the offense going. Robbie would drop back in the midfield, and then everybody else would push forward, and then he would come back into the play. In this particular case, Victor finds himself in that position, in that soft spot of midfield, just past the stripe, where he can dictate going forward for the Galaxy and create some havoc with Chicharito up top and maybe a second forward, depending on what Greg Banny decides to do during the match, and open the opponents up and give the Galaxy goal scoring opportunities. That second goal scored by Chicharito was incredible in terms of the pass coming on in. And if we see more of those, I think he'll be smiling from year to year. I think we'll all be smiling going forward. So I hope I answered that question. Senor Terrible, 89. As a commentator, can you feel a palpable difference between this team and the previous teams you've seen? Yeah, I think so. I think one of the things that really comes to mind for me is the constant going back by the Galaxy management and coaching staff of talking about Galaxy culture, the culture of the LA Galaxy, and instilling it in this team. And I think that's the number one thing that they've been working on this offseason. I think obviously it's a staple of this club going in to the season. Even through the first two games, you hear that still being mentioned from Greg in his post-game interviews, his post-game press conferences. You hear the players talk about it. You hear Jonah Dos Santos, the captain, kind of mention it along the way. I think that's an important part of what the Galaxy are trying to do this year, especially in the early part of the year. So yeah, there's a big difference this season compared to, let's say, the last 3 or 4. G-Man, because you're an Italian American that has grown up with homemade bread and cookies around the house, is there any Italian food besides pizza that you wish the Galaxy served during home games? That's a tough one. I would probably say, I believe they still serve Italian ice, do they not? I think they do. The other one would be, I would go with cannoli as far as desserts are concerned. In terms of other foods, I mean, I don't know. I think pasta might be a little sloppy to serve. Maybe what I would call arancini, which would be rice balls. That would be a street food that they could possibly serve. But I think pizza is probably the one that's going to win out going forward. I was a high school goalkeeper, Doc. That's the only position I played for about 15 years. I was pretty good at it. Growing up, I was able to overcome my weight issues athletically until later on in high school. But that's what I played growing up. Who is your favorite player in the LA Galaxy? Currently, I think I mentioned it, Victor Vasquez would be my favorite player right now. All time, I think Kobe Jones, because what he's meant to the Galaxy. I think Landon Donovan, because what he's meant to U.S. soccer and to the LA Galaxy. I mean, there's so many players I'm going to mention. So I'm going to mention David Beckham for what he meant to Major League Soccer and where we are today. And Robbie Keane for helping to win 3 championships and possibly, in my opinion, the greatest DP signing in MLS history, the most productive one, that's for sure, in taking 3 titles. And, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and his incredible play when he was with the Galaxy. Those are the players that come to mind for me. Let's see here. What's your favorite part about calling a soccer match? In terms of favorite part of calling a soccer match, it's a tough one. Painting the picture with words. I'm always trying to do that properly. Following the ball is important, but also just seeing the breakout as the Galaxy go into the offensive end and being able to tell you that so-and-so is running down the middle of the park, so-and-so is wide on the far side, and letting you know that the ball's on the near side or wherever it might be. That part, when it's going well for the team, is fun. Is a lot of fun. When it's chaotic, it's difficult, but but it's still part of what you do. And I'm excited to do that. I think the other part of it is when the Galaxy score the goal, especially at a home game. And that's something that we've missed over the last year. And we had it back on Sunday, thank goodness, with fans in the stands, is that roar of the crowd. I mean, when I was a kid and I was just a fan, watching the games, I've always loved that roar of the crowd hit me when my team scored, right? That energy that's in the building. We still feel that energy in the building when the Galaxy score. And that's part of the fandom that I still have with you, right? I can celebrate a goal with you, and hopefully I get the goals right, and then I'm happy. If I get the goal wrong, then I'm not. Then I have to do a better job. Hi, Sarah. Jalen Neal's mom. Hey, I met you on Sunday. Oh, the honor was mine, Sarah. The honor was mine. You have a great young man there. I love the way he plays. He glides around that field. It just looks effortless out there. And hopefully we see him with a big club and as a starter, and many big days for him going forward. I think the sky's the limit. So thank you very much for saying hello, and it was my honor meeting you. From Chris M. Chris Maldonado, 2 questions. What kind of statue do you want in front of the stadium? I don't think I'll get one. So thank you for the question, but I don't think I'm in that. There's a lot of people in front of me. So there have to be some monument park somewhere else for me to be part of that. So I don't think that's the case for me. But I thank you. Also, who's your all-time favorite LA Galaxy player of all time? My all-time favorite, that's a tough one. That's a real tough question. I left out Carlos Ruiz earlier. I don't know. I mean, being a goalkeeper, I think, you know what? I'm going to side with Kevin Hartman on that one. I left him out also. A little kinship with the goalkeepers. So I'll say Kevin Hartman is my favorite all-time LA Galaxy player. Will Chicharito win the Golden Boot this season? That's a good question as well. I think at this point, if he can continue this, and injuries play a role also, and obviously the Galaxy aren't going to score 3 goals a game going forward. I mean, there's going to be games where the Galaxy don't score 3. Yeah, I think so. Why not? Why not? I mean, we're talking about a global superstar here. Maybe not Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but somebody who has a very, very good resume. Mexico's all-time leading scorer. He's still young. He's shown who he is this year compared to a difficult year that he had, and we all had together, to be honest. Excuse my dog. My dog is also part of this interview tonight because, he sees me talking and he wants some attention also. But yeah, absolutely he can do it. Absolutely. The more confidence he gets, why not? If you could add one player to this team from Europe, not named Messi or Ronaldo, who would it be? Angel Di Maria. I've always liked him since he was at Real Madrid. So that would be the player that comes to mind at the moment. I would not bring our Americans back home just yet. Let them get to the World Cup first. And then my answer might change. Yes, I do follow the Serie A. Is there any current player that you enjoy watching from the Serie A, and any player from the Serie A that you would like to see come to MLS and perhaps the Galaxy? G-Man, I do watch the Serie A. I don't watch it religiously in terms of I don't have any one team over there. I watch the Serie A because I grew up in an Italian household, and that's the league that I would watch. But when I was a kid, anybody who's my age, we grew up on watching anything from abroad was Soccer Made in Germany, which was an edited 60-minute broadcast of obviously a Bundesliga game. But at this point, I don't have any one player that I would want to see in an Italian team. I mean, Ronaldo would be great to see him come to the Galaxy. But I'm talking about in terms of an Italian player from the Serie A at this moment. I don't have any one player that would come to mind. I'm sure there are plenty there that could not only help this league, but also help the LA Galaxy. But, a few years ago, I would say Buffon. I would love to see Buffon in MLS in the LA Galaxy. So I'm sorry I don't have a straight answer for you on that one, but no one player really comes to mind right now from this area for me outside of Ronaldo. And we've seen Zlatan, and he left, and I wish him well. But I think that that's not happening again. What's the biggest game you've ever called? Um, the biggest game I've ever called. Let's see here. I've had the opportunity to call two U.S. national team games. One was the USA against Mexico, where Landon Donovan scored his first international goal. Um, Biggest game I've ever called would have to be where I was emotionally attached. The last biggest game would be the 2014 MLS Cup final. Um, that would be the one that the last one I've been emotionally attached to. The U.S. national team games are an honor, but I've only done two. So Chick deserves a statue. Chick deserves 10 statues. Uh, uh, you know what, guys? I'm just honored to be here with you. I'm honored to be the voice of the LA Galaxy, and I hope to do it a long time. And guys like Chick Hearn did it for a very, very, very long time, and I still have a lot of years to go to get even close to those guys. But it is, I got to say, I'm honored that you guys mentioned me in that way. Uh, it is a bar that's uh, way into the clouds, and hopefully I reach it one day as well. Thank you again. In my opinion, do I think we have a chance to beat Seattle and LAFC in our next two matches? I never go into a game thinking the LA Galaxy can lose a game, ever. I go into every game thinking, okay, this might be a tough game, but they can pull it out. And that's how I look at things. Um, I think in everything you do, you prepare to win. You never prepare to lose. I prepare to call a win, and the loss will take care of itself if that's the case. Um, why not? Why can't they go win at Seattle? They've done it before. Why can't they beat LAFC? They've done it before. They did it last year, and last year was not the season we wanted to remember, but they did it last year a couple of times. So yeah, I believe they can win both those matches, and I look forward to it. I came from a blue collar background. That's true. How has that helped me in my career as a play-by-play broadcaster? Well, I think the fundamentals and the qualities you take from that are that to continue to work, you have to work hard. Um, like I said earlier today, I was, getting Seattle lined up in my sights and starting to think about the G2 match on April 30th, Friday night, when the Galaxy 2 open up at 7:30. And those are the things that are in my sights right now. And so I think being a blue collar guy to a certain degree, you have to work for everything. Nothing comes easy. I don't expect it to come easy. I know you guys expect a certain excellence, not only from the players, but we have to bring that too as broadcasters. And we have a responsibility to do that. And if it's blue collar, if that's what that means, then so be it. But the responsibility for me is to bring a good broadcast, something that is Galaxy worthy, and hopefully among the best in Major League Soccer, and hopefully among the best in the USL, and certainly reflect the club in a proper way. And that's what it means to me. From Cricket King, what was your reaction when the Galaxy were planning to build their stadium next to Cal State Dominguez Hills in the early 2000s? Well, I'll tell you that story. Rick Davis and I were broadcasting the games at the Rose Bowl back then, and Tim Lewicki came in for a halftime interview, and that was a radio game, if I remember correctly. And Tim was telling us how grand the stadium was going to be, and mentioned, well, if you think Columbus Crew Stadium, which at that time was built for $20 million. He goes, this stadium is going to blow that away. And so you got to remember, we're thinking, the league's in trouble. They went from 12 to 10 teams. There was a lot of talk about the league not surviving, and then you have a guy like Tim Lewicki saying, no, 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 we're going to build a state-of-the-art stadium. So it was somewhat surreal, and then not long after, where Doug Hamilton has taken us on this little journey through all this dirt at Cal State Dominguez Hills and saying, there's where the press box is going to be, and there's where the locker rooms are going to be, and he's showing us his vision, and I'm just looking at dirt along the way and saying, okay, 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 and yeah, it was great. And then in 2003, when we showed up to present the stadium to some dignitaries that were there, that was the first time I was able to walk into it and take a look at it, and it was incredible. It was a cloudy day, and the field was laid down all green, no lights, no lines on it at all, and it was just incredible. And then obviously the opener, that was also, though anybody who was there in 2003 remembers, that was also somewhat of a cloudy day, overcast type day, a little mist in the air, and and just to see the fans in the building was very similar to Sunday's game. And Kobe and I were talking about it. The fans coming in 2003, it was their new stadium, their new home, right? So everybody's walking around and checking it out. And on Sunday, it was like a similar situation where it almost felt like coming back to school, right? You're seeing your friends for the first time in forever. And we walked around the bowl of the stadium, and we saw a few fans along the way as we were just walking around to check it out ourselves and feel it. And that's what that feeling was. I mean, it was special. Sunday was special, and as the capacity opens up and we get to a full crowd, that will be special too. So from Chris M. I'll hopefully be seeing more of you in person this season inside the press box. Also, thanks a million for making yourself available to fans. And maybe you can work your magic and convince Kobe to do a Q&A with us. You know what? You guys got to reach out to Kobe. Just reach out to him, and I bet you he'll respond in a positive way. So I don't see why not. And thank you again, Chris. I appreciate it. Foot GaLAxy, what position do you think the GaLAxy should improve based on the team's performance in the last two matches? Well, I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, you're missing an important player who's going to be gone for one more game, Sebastian Lletget. Although I thought Ethan Zubak left it all on the pitch for the GaLAxy, the best of his ability, and was a positive out there for the club. I think in general, the GaLAxy don't want to give up 2 goals a game. So if there's anything that you take away from these 2 wins and you're happy about the victory, certainly, and you're happy about scoring 3 goals, and you're happy about Chicharito with a hat trick, and there's 5 goals in 2 games, that's all incredibly good stuff, right? I think the other thing, you look back and say, okay, well, we can't afford to give up 2 goals a game. And the first two games has been like that. And unlucky, yeah. Bad refereeing, perhaps some bad calls, yeah. But ultimately, you just don't want to do that. And I think that's probably something that'll be concentrated on a little bit more. Do you have any advice on those wanting to improve their play-by-play commentary and keeping the art alive? Um, I think one of the greatest compliments I received was from a fan that came up to me and said, "Hey, you help me see the game. I can see the game when I listen to you." And then he told me I'm blind, and that was an incredible compliment. And that reminds me every time, especially for you fans that are maybe driving around and you're checking in on the app and listening that way, that the audience is blind, and in that regard, and you have to work on that, and you have to paint the picture. And I think if there's any artistry involved in play-by-play commentary, that is probably going away just because of the way the business is changing, is that fact of painting the picture uh, for those who are listening to you. There's so much video available, whether it's on ESPN Plus or your TV or an app of some sort, that particular artistry, I think, is going to go away with my generation of broadcasters. Anybody else? Okay, I'll continue here with G-Man. What is the next step MLS needs to do to keep growing the sport in the United States? I think it's hand in hand with the U.S. men's national team. Um, I think the sport really goes both ways in terms of where the U.S. men's national team, how good they do. The 2002 team really propelled Major League Soccer forward in that quarterfinal finish, and for the U.S. men to continue to do well, get back to the World Cup, get out of group play. We recognize those names, right? By and large, the fans start to recognize those names, and most of the time, they're MLS players or players that have come through MLS and went on to Europe to really do well. And that puts a bigger profile on Major League Soccer, a bigger spotlight on Major League Soccer, and that helps propel this league forward. I think ultimately, you're going to start spending like the European teams, and you're going to start bringing in players at younger ages. For example, Cabral. But here's the issue with the perception of American fans compared to European fans. When you bring in younger players, they don't necessarily have the profile, okay, of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who came over at what was he, 35? 35 years old. So the American fan compared to the European fan, we have to flip our perception and kind of realize that these young fans that do come over, these young players that do come over are just as talented as the big headline guys. And when we get to that point, then we level that playing field. And I think it's coming, but it relies on the U.S. men's national team succeeding, the men that play abroad succeeding, and also still coming from Major League Soccer. So there's a lot of things that have to continue to go in the right way. And I think we're getting there. Maybe not as fast as we all want to, but we're getting there. Bloppy, Messi or Ronaldo? And also, what is your favorite team other than the GaLaxy? Messi or Ronaldo? See, I think Ronaldo has a bigger footprint worldwide. And I think in the United States, he would probably resonate more than Messi. Certainly from a player standpoint on the field, then you can't go wrong with either one. But if we're looking for, let's say, the Beckham effect, Ronaldo would bring that Beckham effect again to the GaLaxy and to Major League Soccer, in my opinion. The GOAT, what advice you have given Kobe to help? I have not given Kobe any advice. Kobe doesn't need any advice from me. Kobe brings his knowledge of playing to the broadcast, something that's unique compared to the other broadcasters that have been with me in terms of, even though I've had Kevin as a radio broadcaster with me, and I've had Dan Kennedy on the radio with me, and from a coach's perspective, Ralph Perez is on the radio side as well, and then Ricky Davis in the early days with me, another player. But Kobe is a Hall of Fame player. Kobe is the gold standard, right, when it comes to U.S. men players, and everybody else who reaches that standard has that same type of accolade as Kobe, but he got there first. So I don't need to give Kobe any advice on being a broadcaster. In terms of being a commentator, I think we fit well together. We see the game similarly. He calls me out when he wants to, and has certainly the credibility to do so, and I'll ask my questions along the way. And so, yeah, I appreciate Kobe and everything he brings to the broadcast booth. Do you have any funny stories to tell us around the team, or funny stories in the press box with you and Kobe and other broadcasters? I don't know. I think we kind of make fun of each other. I think the funniest thing that I get teased all the time because I'm the early bird. I like to get to the stadium early, real early, for a lot of different reasons. I have a long drive. I like to get there early just in case something goes wrong on the highway and the freeway. And thankfully that hasn't happened in 26 years, but you never know. And but I like to get there real early, and that's not just for that. I really love the fact that I can have the entire day come to me, and that means watching the ground crew lay down the lines and put the goals up, and watching you guys, the Riot Squad setting up, or maybe the Angel City Brigade is setting up, and I've already see you guys doing that stuff, and that's what I like. And so Kobe likes to bust on me, and he knows what time I'm driving up, and he'll call me out of the blue and say, "Hey, you there?" And and so we get a good laugh out of that. But that's just my thing, and but in terms of the other stuff, I mean, I think you guys hear it all. I think when we start laughing or anything that's funny that happens in a broadcast, I think you guys hear it. Uh, Nothing really happens behind the scenes at this point that um, in terms of funny stuff that would not be shared with the whole GaLaxy community. Certainly, Kobe wouldn't let me get away with something without sharing it because that's how he is. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't hold back. I say what's on my mind, and we kind of go from there. So anything that's really happening that's kind of funny, um, is usually shared. I think there was a moment in my first season back on TV where we go from the pregame show into the game. And so usually we have a handheld microphone in the pregame show, and then we'll put the headsets on in the game. And so the game gets underway. We're coming back in. And unfortunately, my microphone on my headset is not working. And I'm talking, but the producers are not hearing me and so forth. They know that I'm talking. They can see that I'm talking. And so everybody kind of goes into a panic mode, figure out what's going on. And so I just grabbed the stick mic and I just pointed to the camera. I said, turn the microphone on. And we did the first half of that game with me on the microphone, um, on the microphone with a headset. And then we fixed it all at halftime. And those are some of the things that happened in the broadcast. The game where Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored his 500th career goal in Toronto. Uh, we had lost communication back to Los Angeles for the last 20 minutes of the game. And I realized that at a point where our producer stopped talking to us and not alerting us to replays. And and during the game, I texted him. I said, "Are you trying to talk to me?" And he goes, "Yes." I said, "Well, I don't hear you." And so as long as he heard me and Kobe, of course, we got through the rest of the game that way. Those are the things that are happening behind the scenes that, thank goodness, we have such a good broadcast team keeping us on the air and making us look good, that happen. And we're not the only ones, and we're not the only sport that this happens to. But those are the things that happen along the way that we tend to, after the fact, laugh about a little bit because we got it done. Nobody wants to fail, like I said. When was the last time the LA Galaxy started the season 3-0? That's a tough one. I can't remember, honestly. Maybe Robert. Uh, I'd probably go back to 3-0. That's a tough one. I would say 2011 season. That might be it. I mean, when they went wire to wire that year, in terms of that type of start. But let's hope this season is in the record books in 3-0 after Sunday. We'll see. How do you feel about the radio being more accessible because of the internet and people having mobile phones that are essentially mini computers? I think it's great. I think the apps are going to be taking over traditional radio, and you can pick us up anywhere, inside, outside. New cars, of course, are more entertainment systems as opposed to radios. Even though we might still call them radios, they have so much to give you these days in terms of what apps you might want to listen to that are on your phone that you can mirror onto your entertainment system in your car. Uh, that is the next frontier in terms of where we're going. But I think it's going to be audio and video together going forward. and less print going forward, because I think people's attention spans are not into anything long form in that realm, so to speak. So yeah, I think it's a big change. I think it's a good change. Um, it's an interesting transition that we're in right now, but better days are ahead. Good question. Next one from Chris. Who has been your favorite player to watch, GaLaxy or not? Well, I mean, without Messi or Ronaldo, and I mean those guys are incredible to watch. I go back to the game that the first time the GaLaxy met Barcelona at the Rose Bowl, and that incredible team that had Messi and even Henry was on that team back then. I remember they knocked the ball around for 10 minutes before the GaLaxy could touch it, and we kind of laughed a bit on the broadcast about it, like, oh my God, look at these guys and the way they're moving the ball around. Um, you look at it and you say the greatness of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and what he can do, the moments that he brought to the GaLaxy, and he continues to do it in the Serie A, a league that's very difficult to score. Um, David's balls, David's passes, long distance passes, and what he brought. Um, when I was a child, I was able to watch Hugo Sanchez play before he went on to Spain, and he played 2 years in San Diego on loan. And it was him and Leonardo Cuellar from the Mexican national team that were here, and I saw Hugo at his youngest play, and he was an incredible player too. And I saw him in person. Um, Landon Donovan, and I would probably have to leave it right there. If I had to pick one, it would be Landon Donovan. Landon Donovan, in my opinion, is the greatest American player of all time. It might turn out to be Christian Pulisic. It might turn out to be Gio Reyna. It might turn out to be Weston McKennie or somebody else along the way. But right now, in my opinion, Landon Donovan is the greatest player the U.S. has ever created for the amount of games he played, for what he contributed to the U.S. men's national team, for the championships he won in Major League Soccer. So he would be the number one on my list. Do you have any thoughts or ideas to help us show the younger generation appreciate play-by-play commentary? Is it an art that you'd like to keep alive? I would love to keep it alive. And I don't think it's the younger generations that don't respect it. I think the industry is changing, and I think the industry is looking more for presenters than old school play-by-play announcers. If you guys threw up Chick Hearn, uh, even the greatest of them all, Vin Scully, the greatest storyteller during a game than anybody that I've ever heard was Vin Scully. Even Bob Miller, the great Bob Miller. Um, the new play-by-play announcers that are coming along are not taught that for whatever reason. And I think also they're looking for more of a presenter type person, more opinionated type of person, and more of a commentary based broadcast. Um, Obviously, I give you guys opinion on my broadcast. It's a natural thing for me. It always has been. But and then maybe that's something that the pixie dust from Chick Hearn might have sprinkled on me, something that I took from him. But that's how I go about doing it. Um, I don't know. I can't. I don't know what the future has in store. I do think there's a place for broadcasters. I don't think we'll ever go to a game where on a regular basis you have no broadcasters. I think we've tried that before in the past. It did not work, did not go well, and I think there's always going to be that place for men and women in the booth, I believe. Mauricio Cienfuegos or Pescadito, greatest Central American ever to play for the GaLaxy. Oh my goodness. What those two meant for their countries, I have to say, only because he scored the first greatest goal in GaLaxy history, it has to be Pescadito. But the respect I have for Cienfuegos is immense. The goal he scored in Chicago in 2001 that led the Galaxy to the championship, and that big shot in overtime that gave the Galaxy the Western Conference title. I'll never forget that. And what he meant to the Galaxy in the first years of the Galaxy was incredible too. Martin Machon is another one, which was a great player at the time MLS got underway. But I have to say Carlos Ruiz would have to be the greatest Central American player that the Galaxy have had. And that's I'm talking about the play for the Galaxy in terms of what they brought to the Galaxy. And we don't have our first if it's not for Carlos Ruiz. How did it feel to see a game at home again? It was incredible. It was incredible to see a game at home again. Uh, I loved seeing the fans and hearing the fans and bringing the energy into the building. I know it was about 7,000 people, but compared to what we had to do last year where we had home games with no fans and just the tarps and the away games that we called off monitors with nobody around us, it felt a lot closer to being normal. And I can't wait to when it becomes normal once again. And looks like the CDC has loosened things up in terms of mask wearing outside, but I'm not sure about what that means inside a facility. And I think we'll have more guidance on that going forward. But it felt great to see all of you that were able to attend at Dignity Health Sports Park. And I can't wait to see you guys again on the 8th. And April 30th, I'm imagining fans can go to the G2 match Friday night. I hope. We'll see. Yeah, I watch a lot of Dak, the GOAT. Yeah, do I watch any sports besides soccer? Yeah, I watch the NFL. I'll watch college football on Saturdays. A lot of this stuff happens though once the Galaxy season is done, and then I'll kind of migrate over. Once the Galaxy season is still going, I'm still, especially that time of year, I'm engaged in a Galaxy team that's going to the playoffs, where they're going to go in the playoffs, and all that stuff. So I'm pretty hyper engaged with the Galaxy at that point. But once the Galaxy season comes to an end, I will probably watch NFL on Sundays, a game or a game and a half. I'll dip into the college football. I do like hockey as well. I had a great time with the Kings when we had them on my station, and Wayne Gretzky was playing for the Kings at the time, and that was a fun run. They did get to the Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, they didn't win it at that time. So, yeah, I'm a hockey fan as well. Baseball, I will watch baseball. I cannot engage in baseball game in and game out, but I do watch baseball as well. Can I create an all-time Galaxy 11 on the spot? I can't. I cannot do that. It'd be very difficult to do. I'd have to have a list in front of me, and I'd have to start circling names, and then I would probably recircle other ones. I had a vote for the Hall of Fame, and I had a difficult time doing that. An all-time 11 for the Galaxy would be really hard for me to do, Chris, at least right now, off the top of my head. So I apologize for that. Miko 80, I hope I got that right. Is Raul, the Kit Man, as cool as he looks? Raul's great. He's awesome. And yes, he is as cool as he looks. And he's always smiling and always puts you in a good mood. He's a good man. He's a real, real good man. So yeah, I think he is as cool as he looks. Most memorable Galaxy goal ever scored. Wow. Uh, Pando Ramirez is there. Carlos Ruiz is there. Landon Donovan's goal in the championship. Landon Donovan's 135. Zlatan Ibrahimovic's 500. Now I'll go back to the first again. It has to be Carlos Ruiz. The Galaxy playing New England in 2002 at Gillette Stadium was brand new, and we were calling the game from behind the goal, and the play happened in front of the Galaxy goal, and then the breakout was away from us. So the goal went away from us. The play went away from us, and the ball went out to Tyrone Marshall, and Marshall then cut it back and almost took Ruiz out of the shot, but he got on the end of it and hit it home. And I lost my mind on the goal, and Rick Davis was there laughing at me. And that's the one that has to be the one because of the failures beforehand, and for them to get that first championship. I think that's the one that I'll remember forever. Uh, the ones I just mentioned, I'm sure I'll remember forever. But you're asking me for one, and I'll give you that one. Doc, do I have a favorite hockey player? It's Gretz. Wayne Gretzky's my favorite hockey player. Are the Kings my favorite team? Yes, they absolutely are my favorite hockey team. El Trafico or Cali Classico? That's an interesting one, Chris. It really is, because history will tell you that it's the Cali Classico, right? That goes all the way to season one. El Trafico is just getting underway, and I certainly understand. I still understand the drama, and the emotion that's involved in that. Former GaLaxy fans now wearing different shirts and so forth, and I get all that, and I get what's happening. Social media obviously has also led to that. We didn't have those in the early years, but me being traditional, I look at it a couple of ways. The New York Yankees' number one rival is the Boston Red Sox. Why? Because of the history. The Dodgers' number one rival is the New York Giants. Why? Because of history. Oh, excuse me, the San Francisco Giants, because of history. And I think the GaLaxy's number one rival, historically, is the San Jose Earthquakes, and it's the Cali Classico, because I'll tell you right now that those guys in San Jose want to knock the GaLaxy's block off every time they play. And we've seen that on the pitch in terms of how physical the matches are and how incredible some of those matches have been historically. So El Trafico is going to get there. I think El Trafico is just a bit on the young side right now. But I can also understand how some fans feel the other way around. I get that as well. Thoughts on the Super League drama? I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was going to fall apart so quickly, but I thought it was rather funny. I think I've had this conversation with a number of people. I think what happened there was one where there was a group of teams that didn't realize what they were about to get themselves into in terms of the can of worms they opened, and we all need to remember that we're all part of the same membership, and that's the membership under FIFA and under our individual confederations, or federations, I should say. CONCACAF for us, UEFA for the Europe, CONMEBOL down south, so we're all that is under FIFA. And the club teams are under that rule, as well as our federations, as well as our regions. So I think what happened with those 12 teams is they kind of disregarded all of that. And they didn't understand that the game belongs to FIFA. The laws of the games also belong to FIFA. And I think once Perez came out and talked about a 60-minute game, I think at that point, that's when all bets were off. And once you have to change the game in order to create your own little league or whatever you want to do, I think it just fell apart at the seams right there. And we'll see what type of punishment these teams may get, may not get. But I thought it was kind of funny the way it unraveled. Any Italian restaurants around the area within 20-mile radius of the stadium that you could recommend to us going before and after the game? No, I can't. I wish I could. I cannot. For 26 years, it has been drive to the stadium, do the game, and drive home. And I'm not going to recommend the Olive Garden as an Italian restaurant, although I do eat there from time to time. I get the salads these days. Maybe before I got something else, but now it's about the salads. I wish I could. I wish I could recommend in a 20-mile radius. Maybe you guys can put some up here on the screen and recommend to me where I should go to get some good Italian. Now, you got to understand, when I'm talking about good Italian, I'm talking about Southern Italian food. I'm not talking about Northern Italian. I would have Southern Italian food, and in terms of pizza and things like that, because that's what I would probably eat in terms of an Italian restaurant. Uh, in terms of San Diego, I would say you go to Little Italy. San Diego's Little Italy is one of the biggest and has been rated one of the best in the United States. And I would say San Diego's Little Italy is even better than the one in New York. It's not the one in New York is by name only. It's not Little Italy anymore. I would definitely do that if you are ever in San Diego. Little Italy, take a walk along India Street, pick a restaurant, you'll have a good time. How important is it for the GaLaxy to be good this season so they can return to play in the Champions League? Um, I don't think the Champions League is the number one thing on their mind right. Championship of Major League Soccer is the number one thing on their mind, and the Champions League will come along with that. As you know, I think that's the important thing for the LA GaLaxy right now is to get back to the championship, to win the championship. Champions League could come, but I think the number one goal for the GaLaxy is to win the championship. At least that's how I understand it by listening to what Greg Vanny has to say. Lomelli's in Gardena is a nice little Italian gem in the South Bay. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Absolutely, that'd be fun. I would not consider myself the Vince Scully of the LA GaLaxy. I think that would be disrespectful of me to do something like that. Um, I'm a long ways away from being close to any of those guys. So, but I thank you again for even suggesting it. Pavone or Alessandrini? Good question. Really good question. I say as the play, we're talking player only, right? Not in terms of emotion and so forth. I understand Alessandrini's emotion totally. But in terms of the player's abilities, I would say Pavone would be a better player than Alessandrini. Last call for questions. Okay. Any current or past GaLaxy players you'd still like to see in the lineup? Well, the past players, I mean, at the height of their careers for the GaLaxy, I mean, I think David Beckham, Landon Donovan, Kobe Jones, the height of his career. Boy, can you imagine wingers, Kobe Jones and Landon Donovan? Oh my goodness. Uh, and David in the middle. Um, I'd be making a mistake if I didn't mention Marcelo Sarvis and Juninho and what they brought to the GaLaxy and those great teams from 11 through 14. I mean, that was, I think, the best defensive midfield, holding midfielders, whatever you want to call them, that the GaLaxy have had. Really, that tandem right there was incredible. And the understanding that they had, the two players who would go forward and who would defend and so forth. They had a great understanding of each other and were great teammates. Um, I think that's a good one. I love to see Zlatan. So okay. Now you put, since we talked about that starting 11, let me go forward to back. Zlatan up top, with probably Chicharito's on fire, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But Chicha and Zlatan up top, David in the middle, Landon on probably the left because he could play that. Keep Kobe on the right. So where am I right now? 3, 5. Oh. Defensively, Robin Fraser, Greg Vanny. AJ De La Garza, and I'm missing Omar Gonzalez. That's a tough one. But midfield going forward, that's what I would like to see. Goalkeeper would be Kevin Hartman in his heyday. I know Jaime Pinedo was a favorite for everybody, but I thought Kevin was probably the best shot stopper of his era when he played for the GaLaxy. I think they're probably equivalent in terms of distribution. I think GBS got a fair chance at building a solid team last year. It's a good question, Nick. I think The pandemic certainly threw a monkey wrench into everything. Um, but it was a weird thing last year. You know, the Galaxy did go on a 6-game unbeaten streak. They won 4 in a row, and then all of a sudden the team changed the way it played. And I don't know why that happened. I don't know who did that. And that's when I thought things really kind of fell apart for the team after that. And they never got back to just getting to the victory, and for whatever reason. And and that's just kind of how things just unraveled for GBS. And that's about as close as I was able to get. Unfortunately, once the pandemic hit, we couldn't watch training and we couldn't really have that much interaction. It was obviously last year was very difficult for everybody and was kind of chaotic. But in terms of fair chance, um, I think it played itself out. I think ultimately it played itself out. I think the club decided what it had to do was necessary to get going back in the right direction. And they brought in a guy that has GaLAxy in his blood, in Greg Vanney and Dan Calichman, and Kevin's back on the bench as well. And there's been a shift back to what the Galaxy have been in years past. And so I think the team was sliding away from that, and I think the organization decided to make the move it needed at this particular time. Favorite Galaxy kid of all time? Okay, well, if I don't say the community kid, right? I actually love the. I don't think it's my favorite of all time because I have yet to see them hoist a trophy with the community kid. But give it time, that might become my favorite. We'll see. Um, the Punjab one was good. I like that. Um, I like the white kit with the blues. I like that. I like where the Galaxy are right now in terms of the blue, white, and gold. Um, is there any one particular? I think the 2014 kit was probably my favorite. Um, that if I had to pick one, it's probably 2014's white kit with the stars on it. Keane or Chicha? Well, again, Robbie Keane won 3 championships with the Galaxy. Chicha is on his way to having a great season. So I can't just disregard guys who brought trophies. I like Chicha a lot. I think he's a very, very good guy and respectable man, and working his tail off to be the player he has been throughout his career. But if we're talking Galaxy only, I have to go with Robbie Keane. I have not been able to watch training these days. The protocols don't allow it at this moment. And so when that opportunity comes, then hopefully I can do that on a regular basis because that helps me prepare visually for the upcoming game. But hey, this is where we are right now, and I'll respect that, of course. Do you think Bond has been the best goalkeeper we've seen since Pinedo? It's a good one. Yes, I do. Yes. In fact, I think he could be better than Jaime, only because of how he patrols the penalty area, how his command for the penalty area, what I've seen so far in the exhibition matches, as well as the first 2 matches. I like what I see there. Certainly, Jaime Pinedo's had some incredible saves for the Galaxy and was a fan favorite, and I totally understand that. I think Bond is going to become a fan favorite as well if he hasn't become that already. Am I watching the CONCACAF Champions League tonight? No, but I have been. And I love what the MLS teams are doing. I love the attacking uh, confidence from MLS teams. I think that too much we go into the Champions League and we all of a sudden give the opponent too much respect and we just try to get away and grind out something away. I think in a competition like this, you got to go play. And the teams this year seem to be taking on that point of view, going out and playing and saying, hey, we can go and dictate terms. So I am watching tonight. I'm not. I missed it. I know Philadelphia was up 2-0 on Atlanta, the last thing I saw. And, but I am watching that. Do you have any thoughts on MLS teams that have a European-inspired name versus the more classic American sports teams names? Well, you know what? That's interesting. That's pretty interesting. I was actually just thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, I was looking at the nicknames from the women's league, the NWSL. I'm saying, wow, you know what? Gotham isn't a bad name. Red Star isn't a bad name. I know the folks in Chicago are trying to figure out what they're going to do with Chicago Fire for whatever reason. They don't seem to like it, and I'm like, I'm like, well, you know, you can find names. You got to be a little creative. I think the FC thing here and there and everywhere. How many United teams do we have in the league right now? I think we have three of them, right? Um, I think we can be a little more creative. Um, I believe we could come up with names than as opposed to it seems like it's too easy just to go with FC whatever, and it's kind of a cop out in my opinion. I would like to see if you want to go with FC, name the city for the sake of argument, or CF or SC or whatever you want to do. Find a way to give your club a nickname. I think it's fair. I mean, Arsenal, Gunners or whatever, and Red Devils of Manchester United. I mean, I think it's part of the culture. Creating a good culture around your club. So hopefully that'll be the case going forward. Who's a Galaxy player you think had the best off the field personality? Zlatan, without a doubt. Funny guy. Funny guy. Everything we saw on TV, he was. Uh, it's just always funny. And the funny thing about Zlatan is he would laugh at his own stuff. He knew he was being the goofball, and he knew it. So he would be my favorite one off the field because he's the same guy on the field also. Thank you for that, Chris. Yeah, it was a big journey for me. It was something that was lifelong in terms of battling. Not only I was a heavy child, heavy baby, heavy child, heavy teen, obese young adult, obese into my 40s, and it's not for lack of trying to lose all the weight I needed to lose. It was more of not knowing how to do it, and finally I asked for some help, got that help, and I learned how to eat again and was able to drop 130 pounds and keep it off. And so I'm very lucky. I didn't have to do any surgeries or anything like that others have had to do, and I was able to stay away from any medications. And thank goodness I don't have to do that. And lucky, fortunate. I've had a fortunate journey throughout my broadcast career and also being able to have good health. So thank you for that. It's weird. I think it's Miko. I'm going to say it's Miko. How hard was the transition to a healthier lifestyle? Once I learned how to eat again, it's amazing. Your body's an amazing machine. When you feed it right and you don't starve and you don't go into a starve and a binge thing because that's what I was, and you feed it right and you give it the right nutrients, it's amazing what your body will do. And it's the most incredible machine that we have never invented. Mankind has never invented this type of machine. And it's still not here yet. And if you treat your body right, your body will do incredible things. And that's what it did for me. And once I realized that, and I probably realized that somewhere around 70, 80 pounds dropped, that I said, I'm going to blow past my goal and I'm going to keep doing this. And it is the exact same lifestyle that I did in 2014, is the same exact lifestyle that I live today. I'm probably the most boring eater that you've ever met before in your life. Hence the Italian restaurants. I can't name any. But that's where I want to be. I was at the edge of the cliff, I think, looking back, and now I've gone about face, and I keep on running as far away from that cliff as possible, and eating as healthy as I can, and having as many healthy habits as possible going forward. So thank you guys for bringing that up. Do you think we should keep holding Chicha to a higher standard, or do we understand there's a limit? Um, I don't know. I mean, what higher standard are we looking at? I think you hold him up to the player that he is, to his resume. I think that's fair. I think he would think that's fair. Holding him up to something else is unfair. So if you expect him to be Ronaldo, that's not right. Or Messi, certainly that's not right. But if you expect him to be Chicharito and what he has brought to his resume, then I think that's fair. And I think over the last two games, he's shown us who he is, and I'm happy for him. Very happy for him. I think he's also allowed us into his life more than he actually needs to, but he feels he wants us to know. And, I think that's to be respected as well. So, again, I'll say to you this is that the GaLaxy aren't going to score 3 goals a game, every game. I think it's unfair to think that Chicharito needs to score 2 goals a game, every game. As great as Zlatan Ibrahimovic was for the GaLaxy, he did not score 2 goals a game for the GaLaxy. So, there's going to be games that Chicha doesn't get on the scoreboard. And that's why you have 10 other teammates to go out and take care of business. And then when other people are able to step up and complement him a little bit more, he'll become even more dangerous as the season progresses. Roman, who do you think this is Chicha's biggest competition in terms of the Golden Boot? Well, I mean, across town, Carlos Vela is going to score his goals. Joseph Martinez, if he gets on track, he's going to score his goals. Those will probably be the 2 guys that are going to be at the top if they stay healthy and their teams play well. I think those will probably be 2 of the names that we'll see on a regular basis. I think everybody else will be about even with Chicha in terms of competition-wise and who can do it and who can't do it. And so, yeah, I think those would be 2 of the big names right there you're looking at right now. I mean, somebody else might show their face as the season progresses, especially with the compressed season that we're playing in terms of, playing every 4 days or so as things really get going. That will be taxing. And so we might see some names that we didn't expect. And I'm always looking out for those guys. Who is it? Prisbilic is another player that scores a lot of goals for Philadelphia. That's somebody that I'd pay attention to because it seems like Philadelphia's got it going. And maybe last year was not something of a surprise. It was a surprise, but maybe Jim Curtin has Philadelphia going in the right direction, going through. You know what? Former GaLaxy player, I love him. I still love him, and I think he should be given more accolades, and that's Jossie Zardes, another player that I think we'll see at the top. Chris, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. This is the largest Discord GaLaxy fan group in the universe. I appreciate that. I do think Ethan Zubak has stepped up the last game. I think Ethan is doing what he is being asked to do. Look at his work rate. Look at the type of work he's doing out there. The work he's doing when he gets into the offensive end. He is allowing for Chicha to be Chicha. So don't disregard that. Yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, he probably should have had a goal here and there, whatever. But his hard work is allowing for things to open up. And he's got a role to play, and I think he's doing what the management wants him to do right now. I think it's incomplete on Grand Zero. Give him time. Remember all the new players that have come in. I brought up Juninho and Marcelo Sarvis. Remember how long it took for them to get acclimated to our league. And they're central players, right? They'll see the ball a lot. Grandsir is a wide player, get into the attack. And I think for him, it's going to take a little more time and understanding the nuances with Chicha, the nuances with Victor Vasquez. Victor Vasquez came back into the league. He understands Greg Vanney. He also understands Major League Soccer. So I think it's a bit of an incomplete. And I think it goes back to also Kevin Cabral, who's joining the club, and Derek Williams, who we haven't seen yet, and the other players that'll be on the club at some point, be part of the first 11. It is a process for these guys to not only gel chemistry-wise, but also get a better understanding for the league, when the travel starts happening, the long distance flights and all that other stuff. And it's not anything these guys are used to on a regular basis. So I think we need to give them a long rope and let them continue to progress and hopefully remain starters with the GaLaxy. At the rate the GaLaxy are just signing all the players from France, you'll have to learn French to do French broadcasts. Well, I hope I get their names right, and I'll work on those uh, enunciations along the way and get it right. Hopefully sooner than later. That's fine. Hey, listen, as long as the guys can play and can contribute to the GaLaxy, I don't care where they come. Do I think Yoni Gonzalez needed time? I think Yoni Gonzalez is a player that went into the wrong league. This is a very physical league. I think it was very difficult for him to find his way here. So maybe in time he could have, but I think in the time that he showed here, he was a fish out of water, unfortunately. Does the MLS draft have a significant role in the league or not? And how do you think they fix that if it isn't? Well, I don't think it's as significant as it used to be because obviously the league relied heavily on the college draft, right? And obviously the international players that came in. But I think the way things are going with the league progressing forward, I think the draft is still significant to a certain degree. But I think because of the academies and because of the second division teams like the USL GaLaxy 2 and so forth, and the progression up through the minors, for the sake of argument, I think that is going to be the number one feeder. I think the draft is going to provide players that are mature, that can play a role. But in terms of finding that superstar, that next superstar, that goal scorer, that number 10, that player, I don't believe the draft is going to be providing that on a regular basis going forward. And I don't know that it needs fixing. I think what's happening now is the growth of Major League Soccer, and we're growing into a league that is very similar to all the big leagues around the world. And we are participating in transfer windows and bringing in players that are already at higher quality. For example, let's even the players that are coming through the GaLaxy system. You look at Efrain Alvarez coming through the GaLaxy system. I don't know that there's anybody out of at college age that could be better than Efrain Alvarez, right? So we are finding players at younger age that can contribute earlier, and that's a great thing. How about Antuna? He had his moments. He did, and I wish he would have stayed, but I believe that the writing was on the wall at the end of the season that year, that he was on his way out, and it's unfortunate because yeah, he's certainly one player that I wish could have still been part of this because he's a very talented player, as we've seen. But yeah, long term he would have been great, but you never know. I mean, he's young enough that he could be coming back. I think there was an opportunity for Alex Mendez to go abroad. That's the reason why. I understand, at least from what I understood at the time, is that the GaLaxy were interested in signing him, but I think there was an opportunity abroad for Alex, and that's why he went. Do I think we should have kept Diego Polenta? And do I think he was better than Steres? Diego Polenta really plays left back for the GaLaxy. And for a time there, he did fine. But when the GaLaxy, needed him towards the latter part of the season, he may have run out of gas. I don't know. I think his level fell a bit. Better than Steres, different player. Daniel Steres, of course, is a center back, and Daniel Steres is still with the GaLaxy and still has earned himself his place as a starter with the GaLaxy. But they played on the same team, and that defense gave up a lot of goals, unfortunately. And not only that, they gave up a lot of shots. And that's something that this group is probably going to work at not doing going forward. So, I think everybody takes responsibility there. I don't want to say who's better and who's not. I want to see Daniel do well. He's come through up the GaLaxy system. Diego's a nice guy, and there were some really good games with Diego Polenta and some moments with Diego Polenta. But unfortunately for Diego, there were also times where he got caught going forward, and the GaLaxy defense got caught spread out, and that's also part of that position. And what we have now with the GaLaxy is Jorge Villafaña, who is a player that is used to getting up and down the wings and used to making the runs to get into the attack and used to doing a good job on the left side as well. So ultimately, I think the GaLaxy are improved at that part of the GaLaxy's defense. I got time for a couple more if you guys want. Otherwise, I'll say thank you for everybody joining us here tonight. And it's the first time I've been part of this. What happened to João Pedro? I saw he was a record signing, but he just fell off. What happened? I think João Pedro is just one of those players that just didn't work out. I saw the highlight reel also, and I saw some of the stuff he would do in training, and it just didn't transpire. It just didn't go from that to the games. And again, sometimes players just don't fit in a league. And I think that's what happened with João Pedro, unfortunately for him. And unfortunately for the GaLaxy, because they were high on him when he came in. It just didn't work out. Thank you, Doc. And thank you, Chris. And G-Man, thank you. Do we think we miss Omar Gonzalez? When he first left, I would say yes. I think Omar's now at the latter part of his career. I think he's still doing well with Toronto. But I think in terms of where the GaLaxy are going now, I think at this point, I think the GaLaxy need to get younger. Thank you, Foot GaLaxy. Thank you, Chris. The GOAT, thank you. Miko, thank you. Doc, again. I appreciate it. This was really cool for me as well. I do love being attached to you guys, and I pay attention to you guys. So just so you know, I'm always paying attention because your feedback is important, and it keeps me connected. It gives me an idea of how you guys feel about the club, and I like that. That helps me prepare for games and gives me a better understanding how the fan base feels and what they're expecting, and hopefully the club keeps on putting smiles on our faces, and we are on our way to being the club we expect to be. And from our side of things, on the broadcast side of things, a very, very small part of the LA GaLaxy, I just want to represent the team well to you in a very respectful way. And I appreciate all the compliments and the kind words. And maybe one day I will be that broadcaster I think I am and say I am. And it's an honor to broadcast your games, and it will always be my number one honor as a broadcaster to be the voice of the GaLaxy. So thank you very much.
If there aren't any other questions, I'd just
Cool.
like to thank you for coming again. We really appreciate you taking the time out to connect with us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And, what do we go, an hour and a half? That's pretty good, I think. I hope I answered everybody as honestly and succinctly as I could. I just appreciate all the kind words. I mean, I think you guys threw out some compliments that are massive. And, maybe one day I can, 30 years from now, live up to those compliments. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And I hope you have a good night.
You too.